And for more, let's bring in our political panel, Braden Akers, Conservative strategist, Cam Holmstrom, NDP strategist, and Dan Moulton, Liberal strategist. Everyone, thank you so much, first of all, for being here with us today. As you've seen, protesters are getting more violent on the campaign trail, with Justin Trudeau getting hit by gravel, people spitting on the campaign bus yesterday during the press conference. Let's start with you, Dan, and your reaction to the protesters or the anti-vaxxer mob, as Trudeau put it.
Well, to be quite blunt about it, these people are, the same people that stormed the Capitol 8 months ago in Washington. They are a group of rather angry, violent individuals who have taken significant issue with pandemic restrictions. And so we've seen, I think, a festering of this political culture in our country, the same that we've seen play out south of the border. And it is going to continue to plague, I think, the Liberal campaign as they travel the country when these demonstrators start to see more momentum in their cause, start to see more people coming out to these rallies. We're going to see bigger and bigger protests. And I think what we need to do as a country and as part of our public conversation, really call out what these people are. They are not legitimate protesters with legitimate grievances. They are using violence. They are using racial slurs. And they are the same people that are protesting vaccinations at our healthcare systems, that are stopping doctors and nurses from getting to work, that are forcing patients undertaking chemotherapy to walk through crowds of people to get into hospitals. These people are in need of being called out specifically for what they are. And I think that we need to stop referring to them just passingly as protesters as opposed to the anti-vaxxers and quite despicable
Cam, I want to
people.
get your thoughts. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Dan. But Cam, I did want to get your thoughts on this and what you think about what Dan is saying there. Are you seeing parallels ideologically to the protesters that we saw, those who we saw storming the U.S. Capitol? And what impact is this now having on the Trudeau campaign?
That's some of it, but it's not all of it. I think it's a little too simplistic to put it that way, because while there are far-right people in those groups, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network had some great reporting on this on their website in the last week about some of the people who just happened to have been there last night from reports. So there is an element of that. But at the same time, there's also an element of people who are frustrated, who are anti-vaccination, who may not necessarily be violent, and it's gotten out of control. And I personally have been very vocal in my opposition to these people and their methods. But at the same time, I have to admit, I'm a little unnerved when it turns into someone on the political campaign trying to leverage that to support their own campaign. I think right now we need someone to lower the temperature. What happened last night was totally unacceptable. It doesn't need to be said because we know it's not acceptable. As an Indigenous person, I've taken part in many protests in my day. It's never involved picking things up and throwing them at political leaders. You stand there, you make your point, you respectfully, but you don't do what we saw there. But at the same time, someone has to lower the temperature, because right now this is spiraling. This is getting worse. We've seen these protests throughout the campaign. We've seen them dogging the Liberal leader throughout the campaign, and they keep escalating. My worry is that someone's going to take this even further, and someone's going to get hurt or worse. I know the former Privy Council head, Michael Wernick, has said as much publicly. And honestly, I wish Mr. Trudeau would tone down things a little bit here. Yes, it's right to be upset. I'm upset. There are 50 people protesting outside of the hospital in Kingston right now where my mother-in-law is getting cancer treatment. That makes me mad. But you know what? There's a time and a place for that. And unfortunately, we expect our political leaders to go to a higher standard when it comes to their decorum and their statements.
Braden, what do you think of what Cam had to say there? Because O'Toole has accused Trudeau of politicizing vaccines and guns. Trudeau has linked O'Toole to the far-right anti-vaxxer fringe. Let's talk a little bit about this and the impact that's having also on the Conservative campaign.
So I think the Conservatives have been overwhelmingly clear. They've condemned these protests. They've condemned the actions at these protests. These individuals are not affiliated with the Conservative Party. That's very evident. I think Aaron's also talked about how the Prime Minister should be, and all party leaders should be able to freely campaign in this country, and that's a Canadian value that we must all uphold. I think if I was on the Liberal campaign right now, I'd be having a stern conversation with the RCMP, having those discussions to, figure out ways that we can mitigate these actions, because clearly steps need to be taken to protect the Prime Minister. He cannot be in situations where he is receiving physical threats, nor should members of the media.
And gentlemen, I'm so sorry that we have to leave it here because there's so much more we wanted to touch upon with you, but we do have to go to a press conference in Newfoundland. Dan, Cam, and Braden, thank you so much for joining us today.